And we're live. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Thursday Fastball with Crusty Canuck. Today I'm honored and I have a special guest by the name of Mr. Artur Pawlowski, Pastor Pawlowski, a Christian, Polish immigrant, survivor of the Cold War, all-around humanitarian, persecuted by the authorities in Calgary, and really just a stand-up human being. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Artur Pawlowski. Sir, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me in.
Not a problem. Not a problem. Now, of course, you've made the headlines in independent media and in the mainstream media in regards to AHS officials, bylaw officials, and Calgary's city police basically invading your worship space in the name of public safety or in the health regulations that they keep throwing down our throats. If you could tell my audience, what were the events leading up to that day, if you could, sir?
Well, everything started just like for all of us around the world 13 months ago when we learned that there is apparently a pandemic and people are dying left and right. So I am feeding homeless people for the past 22 years, and I have been doing just that, feeding people, saving their lives. 4 times a week, we are going there with a team of people, barbecue, food, and just trying to cheer them up, give them hope, and provide them with necessities of life. And then suddenly, police officers surrounded me, 12 of them, and I was told that what I'm doing is, in fact, illegal, that I'm going to receive a ticket, and if I don't stop doing what I'm doing, I'll get even up to $1 million ticket. So I said no. I got a $1,200 ticket. I was the first clergyman in Canada to receive a COVID ticket. And my parishioner was assaulted by the police, was shoved, pushed. And that's how it started. Every few weeks, I would have police officers, health inspectors, and bylaw officers coming to my church, intimidating my parishioners, volunteers, taking pictures, preparing for a trial. And from time to time, I would end up with a ticket. And that was going on for month after month until December. In December, the government declared that they're canceling Christmas. Christmas is one of our holiest celebrations, the birth of Christ that we celebrate, that God, Jesus came and died for our sins, and that there is hope. And we were looking forward to celebrate that like every other year. Even during the Middle Ages, during the Nazis and the communists, they never dared to shut down Christmas. I mean, that's unheard of. This is absolutely insane if you really think about it. So I said, well, the government can cancel themselves if they want. I said to them, you know what, you can cancel yourself. You're useless. You are unessential. And we don't really need you because the only thing you're doing right now is destroying, not helping, not building. And I said, you can cancel yourself and your entire city hall. We are not canceling Christmas. So I invited people to come. And we had Christmas carolers, and we had barbecue. We fed hundreds of people. And we had over 100 police officers and about 50 police cars, about 20 bicycles, police on bicycles. I mean, it was a gong show. It was crazy. We were surrounded by police left and right. Some of our parishioners got tickets. Others were intimidated. And even our guest speakers were attacked by the police. So that was December, and that was on the streets, feeding the homeless, being harassed by the authorities, bylaws, police, health inspectors, depends of which day. For feeding the homeless during the Christmas, I got 11 tickets for that day. And that's how they proceed. From time to time, I will end up with a ticket. I would end up with the police coming to my home during the night hours, intimidating me, kind of coming with their vehicles to show the neighborhood, oh, here, there is a villain in this neighborhood, so be careful. Your neighbor is a villain. He has police and the police vehicles left and right. And latest, they came with the detectives. So you got 2 highest paid police officers in the city of Calgary, $200,000. And instead of fighting and going looking for real crime, rapists, murderers, terrorists, like really, really bad people, what do? They come harassing a preacher that feeds the homeless, and with what? With a bylaw infraction. I mean, That's insanity. If you really think
Mhm.
about it, you got two detectives doing the job for the bylaw services, assisted by two armed, uniformed officers. So you got four of them delivering $100 bylaw ticket. So when you watch stuff like this, this has nothing to do with the health. This has nothing to do with keeping us safe. This is everything to do with fear, control, terror, abuse, infringement on our rights.
Mhm.
And they started to show up at my other facility in the building where we worship on Saturdays. And they would come the parking lot, and one time they blocked the parking lot to our church, preventing the parishioners from driving in. And when you hear stuff like this, you think to yourself, oh, this is surely in China, this is
Mhm.
probably in Russia, this is not in a free and democratic Canada, that we have a constitution, charter of rights and freedoms, bill of rights. I mean, come on, we are protected, and
Mhm.
we elect our leaders, politicians, to make sure we are protected and they represent us. But no,
Mhm.
apparently the Constitution, the Charter of Rights, and the Bill of Rights doesn't exist in this country anymore, and they can do whatever they want. So my parishioners were intimidated, harassed, pictures were taken, and I fend them off. I told them, get out. And eventually, about an hour later, they did. They would start to show up at our outside of the parking lot, because I told them, you're trespassing and I'll charge you with trespass. So next time they showed up with the health inspector, police, and the bylaw officers, taking pictures of our children, women, people going to the church through the doors. So we confronted them as well. I grew up, as you can tell by my accent, I grew up in Poland under the boots of the Soviets. I grew
Mhm.
up under the communist dictatorship. I grew up behind the Iron Curtain. And I'm telling you, the tactics that they're using right now are identical to the tactics of the Gestapo and the Soviets, the KGB. They would, if they couldn't get to a man,
Mhm.
because let's say man was too famous or too well known and had some support, then they would go and take pictures of his wife and his
Mhm.
children. And they would say, listen, maybe we cannot touch you, maybe we will not do anything to you, but we will do it to your children, we will do it to your wife. Your wife will lose job, your children will be harassed at school, and there is nothing you can do about it. So that's the pressure points that they're using to intimidate and harass people that are well known. We confronted them, they took off, and then behold, the Easter week is coming just 2 weeks ago, less than 2 weeks ago. It's our Passover celebration.
Mhm.
Passover, you prepare yourself for months in advance. It's a story of Moses and Aaron leading people from the land of slavery into the promised land. So Israelites were under slavery, under the boot of the Egyptians, and finally they're being let go. They are going out, and the main focus, the main slogan for that time is, let my people go so they can worship me. And I had this deep in my heart. So when we were preparing singing and prayer, and I turned to my left and I'm looking at those people inside the building, I ran to get my telephone, and I was not prepared. We didn't have cameras rolling. I just ran to the pulpit grabbing my telephone, and I started to record. Why? Because they have been lying about me so many times
Mhm.
during different court cases, that it's not funny. You got officers swearing to uphold the law and speak the truth, and they are manufacturing documents, they are manufacturing stories, they're lying. So I'm used to record those types of events, just in case if they will say I attacked them, I beat them up, I punched someone. So I
Mhm.
want to have always camera rolling with me. So now we have iPhones which record pretty good. So that's what I did, and I told them to get out. First of
Mhm.
all, they came to see if I'm wearing a mask during my sermons. Now think about it. How can I perform my duty as a frontline
Yeah.
worker
There's
if
really
I
no.
am muzzled and people cannot clearly hear what I'm saying? How can I pray for people if I cannot touch them? How can I anoint them with oil? That's what our God is telling us to do. I can't perform my duty. I cannot do anything. And historically speaking, you got to remember, just like soldiers, and I've heard from you, you have been in armed forces for 20 years.
Yeah, I did 20 years. Yep.
Right? Frontline workers, just like the soldiers, just like the police officers, doctors, nurses, paramedics, and always historically speaking, the clergymen were always the frontline workers, because people wanted to confess their sins. They wanted to be comforted before they died, or when they were in pain. We are doing the same job. We're saving lives. We're giving people hope, just like the doctors, just like the nurses, just like the police officers, just like the soldiers. Religion is a huge part of human nature. And for some
many,
people,
yes, I agree.
for some people, they may not care, and that's fine. That's your choice. That's your freedom. But for others, this is the most essential thing. The most essential thing is the faith of that individual, including me. That's the number one thing, is my faith in my God, and everything else becomes secondary. So historically speaking, also, during even Middle Ages and before, knights, soldiers, could not enter a sanctuary, a church, a synagogue, a cathedral with their weapons. They have to leave the weapons outside. You want to come into this peaceful place? Fine, you're welcome to come, but you got to leave your weapons outside. And that's history. Those people, they had the audacity to walk into the sanctuary, into the holy place, into the church, where people come from all backgrounds, all colors, to find refuge. We have people that had problems with authorities before. We have people that, did stuff before, and they don't want the police to come and harass them in the place that they should feel safe and protected. So they walk in, they wanted to talk, and we had many conversations. I had many conversations with them, and just like you started this show, I don't want to listen anymore. I have enough. That's it. I've heard it all. I've heard the lies. I've heard the manipulations over and over again. I looked for the truth, and I have found the truth that all of this they're doing to us, it just, the data doesn't back it up. Last year was less people hospitalized in the city of Calgary than the year before. So where is pandemic? I mean, sorry, I used to be a businessman, so numbers are really, I can see through the numbers. If we are living in the middle of a deadly pandemic, that means if it's deadly pandemic, that the people that died, the number will be higher than the years before, or at least a year before. But the data is showing that it's opposite. Less people were hospitalized in 2020 than in 2019 and 2018. Less people died in the country, entire country, than 2 years before. So what is going on? Why we are being lied to? I had enough. I kicked them out. I said what was on my heart: get out. First, I said, please get out, but they would not budge. They wanted to have some kind of a conversation. This is not the time to have a dialogue, debate, a conversation. You have attacked our place of sanctuary. Get out, you little devils, and don't come back. So I told them, I had to tell them that over 30 times to get out and come back with the warrant. It's very interesting, because those people came because of a bylaw infraction. They came to make sure that I'm wearing a muzzle on my face, and the other people as well. But at the same time, they have broken 2 criminal laws, which is 5 years jail time. 5 years jail time. So in order for them to uphold the law and to make sure that I am upholding the law, they have broken a very serious criminal law. And it looks like no one cares about this, that those people can do whatever they want. They can come in like into a restaurant. I grew up in Poland under the Soviets, and that's exactly what was going on over there. It was lawlessness, depression, hopelessness. Government, 50,000 communists could do whatever they want to the 36 million Poles. Poles were enslaved to the Communist Party. Everything was coming from the Communist Party. The media were controlled 100%. There was no freedom of press. There was no freedom of movement. Mobility rights were non-existent. You couldn't go out. You needed the permission of the party. And everything, every aspect of your life was completely controlled by the Soviets. Everything. I mean, from school, university, your education, the whole education, then your work, who and where you could go, where you could travel. I mean, the whole 9 yards. It was crazy, absolutely crazy, hell on earth. We were standing once a week for hours just to buy a loaf of bread. Nothing. You could buy nothing in the stores. Everything, the shelves were empty, and everything was run by bribes. If you wanted to buy something, you had to bribe your way. Bribe the politicians, bribe the bureaucrats, bribe in the stores. I mean, everything was run by bribery, corruption, lying, cheating. A horrible, horrible country. And not because the people were horrible, is because the whole system, communism and socialism, was horrible and turned the entire population into this hybrid of misery. That's what it was. I remember growing up and looking at the people. They were depressed. They were drinking all the time. There was no hope. You couldn't talk to your friends because a snitch could call the snitch line, and then 5 in the morning the police would break your door. Bam, you got the beatings, you got the torture, you're thrown in jail for just saying something, and maybe even you didn't say anything, but the neighbor doesn't like you. It doesn't matter. If I wanted to hurt someone, I could call my neighbor and just say, he said that, I was a witness. They would not ask questions. They would come, beat him up, torture him, throw him in jail, and then you're standing before the judge and you're thinking, I'm innocent, I'm surely going to be vindicated. No way, man. The judges were doing what they were told by the Communist Party. They couldn't uphold the law. They couldn't uphold the constitution, which Poland had through all of those years of dictatorship, but no one followed the constitution. So that maybe, hopefully that gives you an idea what communism and socialism is. That's why I've called them Nazis, Gestapo, fascists, communists. Why? Because their tactics today are identical to the brown shirts of Adolf Hitler and the communists. True, they're not shooting us down yet. True, that the concentration camp is not yet there, or maybe is, but they're hiding it. But that's how it started. You got to remember, communists didn't just pop up like this. It was a process. Fascism,
years.
It took over 10 years for Adolf Hitler to come to a point of such a power that he could murder millions of people. It took time. So now what we're seeing is the beginning of fascism, beginning of communism, and it's up to us to stand up and fight and say what I said. Get out of my business. Get out of my restaurant. Get out from my church. Get out from my home. Get out from my life.
Well said, sir. Well, we will open the floor to some questions here. Rich Roberts says, doing God's work and getting fines, crazy times. Keep up the good work, Pastor Pawlowski. You are an inspiration.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Rich.
From Justin Mears, big respect, sir. I'm non-religious, but I will die if necessary to make sure you have religious freedom. This isn't right. And rightfully so. Religious freedom is paramount in any democracy. It doesn't matter if you're Christian, doesn't matter if you're Muslim, doesn't matter if you're Jewish, doesn't matter if you're Jehovah's Witness or a Mormon. I'll even break for Scientologists too. You have every right to practice your faith. Believe in what you want to believe. Just don't hit people, take their stuff. A simple doctrine.
Let me just expand on this a little bit. Thank you, Justin, for this comment. I want to tell you something. When you look around the world, every nation that does not allow freedom of religion is a dictatorship. Every single one of them. The moment freedom for you to believe in whatever you want to believe goes, all the other rights go as well, and you become a slave. That's how serious this fight is. You may not like what I believe in. That's fine. But I don't go around people shooting them, killing and beating them up. I may disagree with you, and I may be vocal about what I disagree about your lifestyle. You know, for example, you're smoking. I would suggest to you that smoking is hurting you and is killing you slowly, right? But you don't, I hope you're not going to freak out on me and say, how dare you?
No.
Right?
No.
But you understand what I'm trying to say, right?
Exactly.
Just because I disagree with your life choices, that doesn't mean I don't respect you, and I don't, it doesn't mean I hate you. I just have a different different opinion about your choices. To me, smoking is unacceptable because I don't want to die early. For you, maybe that's something that you like, and that's okay. That's your life, your choices. You will pay the consequences for your choices. I will pay the consequences for my choices. The moment the government disallows freedom for you to choose, you become a slave to the totalitarian police state. And that's exactly what we're seeing in our beloved Canada right now. And you, sir, you fought 20 years in different war zones. You have traveled and you've seen, you stood for democracy for 20 years. And that democracy right now that you fought for and you stood for is being taken away in front of your eyes.
Yes, and it's a scary part too, because I've actually talked to some MPs in regards to that, and I can honestly say I've had one MP call me back, and we've had a pretty good conversation when it comes to freedom of speech and expression. The thing being, after this past April 1st, the motion was passed in the House to increase the pay of these MPs, and especially now with the economics being what they are, where they want to borrow more money and print more money magically without worrying about hyperinflation, which is inevitable, they still okay a pay raise. And I'm sure there's people in your parish, people in your area that have lost their jobs, that have struggled. There's an opioid epidemic, an alcohol epidemic, domestic abuse, and just a lot of strife out there. While those guys in Ottawa are making a few extra bucks an extra a month, there are people I know personally that would kill for an extra $600 a month just to find some sanity, some light in the darkness. So that would annoy me, and that's what also motivates me too for my political ambitions as well. Not only just this show, but to reach out and get people involved. Another question from a Dave Hemmington. Hey everyone, good to see you too. Well, thank you, Dave. I'm kind of bashful being a hero. I just did a job. I had a job. I needed the money. I had some good security, met some good people, did what we had to do. So, and Mr.
Let me just say something before you go to another question or comment. The politicians you were talking about, have you found this fascinating? Because I like to listen to what they have to say, and the rhetoric is, "We are in this together." You've heard that? Right?
Yeah.
We are in this together, right?
Yeah.
We are in this together, and they fly to Hawaii, they go to Barbados, they go to see their family, they have palaces in other nations like Florida, but we are in this together. We got to survive on $900 every 2 weeks, but they got themselves a big raise. They're making $200,000 a year. They have not lost one paycheck since this whole thing started. Actually, they got more money, not less money. And we are in this together. They're telling you stay home, not to see your parents, not to see your children, not to see your friends, because that's illegal. But they go vacationing and they go and have parties, just like Bonnie Crombie. She is the chief health officer in British Columbia, and she just got a chopper. She locked the entire province just a week ago. I don't know if you're aware of that. She locked the entire province.
Yes.
Restaurants, everything shut down. And you know what this devil did? She took a chopper in an airport, not wearing a mask, nothing, because the masks are for slaves, not for them. And then she took off to see her family on the chopper.
Yeah, Miss Bonnie Henry. Yeah, I remember seeing that, and I'm just like, really?
Yeah,
No, it's the same thing as some provincial MLAs here too. Went to Ireland, went to Hawaii, went down to Arizona. A couple of Saskatchewan MLAs did the same thing. Went to their summer homes or their second homes. Others went to the Caribbean. So we're seeing the contradiction.
Yeah,
big time. Do as we say, not as we do.
That's right. One love for me, one love for thee. And again, let me just wrap it up with the communism. That's exactly what I witnessed. A handful of people, like I said, 50,000 communists were ruling over 36 million Poles. And it was always like this: one love for me, one love for thee. Fascism is exactly the same thing. If you know the story of Goebbels and Goering collecting all the artifacts and paintings and palaces and buildings and wealth and gold pillaging left and right, it was always, you gotta be poor, but not me, because I am the SS, I am the elite.
I'm doing this for the state, and you have to keep on doing it for the state. Even though they're standing there with their fingers crossed saying, oh yeah, we're doing this for the greater good.
Yeah.
Sure you are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
And I know my grandparents, when they actually fought the real Nazis and the real fascists, they would beg to differ. If they're alive today, they'd be disgusted with the actions of our elected officials,
Yes.
especially the ones sitting in Ottawa right now.
Well,
So
they are traitors. If I had the power of a king, let me suggest something to you. If I had the power of the king, I would charge them all with treason. Every single one of them that is participating in this, it should be charged with treason.
I would concur. Yeah. Or to step down and to never run in Canadian politics ever again, to be forbidden to do it.
Pension taken away, salary taken away, and criminal charges.
I would say so. Yeah. Extortion goes up there with one of them for sure. Let's see, from Justin Mears again. That's why I call them commie fascists. Well, I just look at the two sides of the same coin. It's socialist based, and it's based on fear and control. Doesn't matter if it was Adolf sitting there with his little Sieg Heil remarks, or Benito Mussolini sitting there with a smug look in his face, or Joseph Stalin killing all those Ukrainians, the Holodomor, and not to mention the parts thereof after World War II and how Europe was divided up like a commerce. And what I remember from my own history classes, Portland being messed with all those times. It's like God. And when I remember watching the Solidarity movement on television and just being wow, just mind blown. People in the street, solidarity, no more, no more. No, we're not going to go to the factories. No, we're not going to go to these power plants.
That's right. Yes, I grew up. I saw that with my own eyes. The power of unified people. 1981, I was in Poland, and on our streets, I saw the tanks, machine guns, soldiers, and millions of people took it to the streets, and they said, "No more. We are not your slave. We will refuse to work. We will refuse to comply." And yes, tens of thousands were arrested. Some were shot. Some were clapped to death. That's true. Some people paid the ultimate price. But Poland, a year later, finally broke the yoke of communism, and later on it got its freedom, and Poland became one of the best democracies on earth.
And I hear that today. The economics is phenomenal. I hear the big businesses are basically not as big, but they're helping people. People are working. People can meet their deadlines. People can go to work and pursue excellence by their own accords. There's no status quo. There's no race or gender quotas. They're just people doing their thing, doing things based on merit, kind of like how North America used to be.
Yes.
On merit. You work hard, you get ahead. You don't work hard, well, you don't get ahead. But now we're seeing this dynamic with the cracking down of religion and the cracking down of liberties and freedoms. And at the moment you question that status quo, you're either deemed a racist or a bigot or misogynist or a xenophobe or Islamophobe. And which is it? And people are afraid because nobody that I know personally in my circle, and I'm assuming in your circle too, sir, that there's any bigotry or racial prejudice.
No, we feed everyone. I feed homeless people for the past 22 years, and I have homosexuals in my lineup, transgender guys dressed as women, Muslims, every color you can imagine. If Martians were here, if there exist, they would be in my lineup as well. It doesn't matter when you're hungry, when you're needy. That's why I created this organization for everyone that is willing to come and needs necessities of life. Yes, I have different of opinions. Yes, I preach the gospel. I'm a pastor. That's what I do. I share with people my way of life. Take it or leave it. People are not forced to come, and they're not forced to stay. They can come. They don't have to. They can stay for the sermon. They can grab the food and go. There's no doors. People can come in and go out anytime they want. That's freedom to me. Freedom for me to say what I want to say. Freedom for you not to listen if you don't want to.
Common sense. Really, common sense. Common ground. You preach your gospel, preach it to the best of your ability. By all means, do it because you love it. You know it's right. It's the same here with my show and other podcasters alike. We do it because we think it's right. Get the words out there. From Hammerhead Garage, hats off to you, Pastor. I would have handled it the exact same way. As a vet, I am disgusted by the overreach of both law enforcement and health services, our new overlords. Not my lord. Well said, Hammerhead Garage. Well said.
Thank you.
Right. All said. You're getting you're gaining some traction there, Pastor, which is good, which is very good. From oh my God, push-ups. No, yes, he is the pastor that told the cops and the AHS and bylaw officers and so-called know-it-alls to get out. To get out. Exactly. Really, enough is enough. Very peaceful, very professional. I think Mahatma Gandhi would have been proud of that too, right? We all heard about his strife against the British Empire. He did everything peacefully.
Of
And Britain
course.
eventually just left. And that's the thing. I would rather see things done peacefully rather than have it turn to violence, because I'd hate to see a similarity of the solidarity movement in Canada.
Yeah.
Not that I'm saying it would be nice to see people unified, get out in the streets and say enough, enough. My concern is when people start pulling out guns.
Of course.
That's where it gets dangerous. That's where it gets scary. And then you get a whole, pardon my expression, poop storm of stuff
Yeah.
going on.
That's the thing. We have to unite in a peaceful manner. We have to do non-compliance, resist, and say to them, we're not going to obey. If they tell you to wear a muzzle, you say, no, I'm exempt. If they tell you to do something you're not comfortable with, like putting stuff in your nose, almost into your brain, just say no. If they want to put a needle in you and they have not isolated the virus, so what is this whole job for, right? You say no, you do not comply with those people, and eventually if enough people will not comply, exactly will happen exactly what happened with Mahatma Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr. during the civil rights movement. They did not comply, they refused to comply, they refused to bow, and eventually we know how the story ended. They've won their freedom, and they had a black president, right? I mean, the recent history. So it's possible. It's possible to come together in Calgary. If you're in the area, this Saturday, 1 p.m., we have another Walk for Freedom rally. And we have amazing guests like Chris Sky is coming, and Kevin J. Johnston is coming, and others. And I will be speaking there as well. That's how you unite. I want to say something about this unity thing. Have you ever wondered why they want you isolated? Why they don't want you to meet with other human beings? Why they want the social distancing, the physical distancing? Because during the solidarity movement, during any resistance, people get their ideas and exchange of information. And you as a soldier, you know that information is the most important thing. If you know where and how and what, you got half of the battle won. Information is crucial. This whole craziness right now is a fight for truth, is the fight against information. And during solidarity, I watched people meeting at homes. I watched them meeting in churches, and they were plotting against the government, right? The illegal occupation of the Soviets. And they could exchange the ideas. They could exchange the information. Where is the next meeting? Here is the pamphlet. Read this. And they were listening to illegal European radio, because it was illegal. It was illegal in the 20th century to listen to anything except the communistic radio or TV. Can you imagine? It was illegal to read a newspaper that was not their newspaper. That's how crazy it was. The information was that they put a cap on the information, and when people were meeting together, that's where they were exchanging the information. That's why today, to implement a total enslavement, they need to eliminate the middle class, small and medium-sized businesses, to create only extremely rich and extremely poor, because the poor can be easily controlled. And also, you need to prevent them from coming together and feeling strong and feeling that there is hope, and exchange that information. So every Saturday, every second Saturday, we are meeting in Prince Island Park in the city of Calgary for Walk for Freedom. And there are different speakers, and there's different pamphlets, and exchange of information is happening. That's why the mayor and the premier, they hate those rallies so much, those protests, because they know that those rallies they cannot control, and people are getting educated. We have doctors, nurses speaking. I just talked to a doctor today, and she said to me, this whole mask thing, this whole vaccine, it's a sham. It's killing people. It's hurting people. That's what she said. This thing is hurting people.
Yes, it is, and in more ways than just cutting off your breathing or cutting off your identity. It's telling people, here's your muzzle, comply or else. walk this way, maintain this distance, comply or else. It's the same thing with our tax racket. You will pay this year or else. And that's what it's coming down to. Do this or else. Okay.
Yeah.
Government should be looking after peace, security, and freedom, not instilling fear. Dave Hemington asks, was basic income part of the introduction of communism into Poland or a form of it?
Yes, it was. For example, pretty much everyone was to make the same amount of money. Small differences, a little bit here and there. For example, a doctor, after many years of university, would be making a very similar amount of money than a cleaning lady in his hospital. Very small difference. Yes, they were making just a little bit, but overall, it was not enough to live a comfortable life. It was on the edge of slavery, always working for just to provide food on the table, nothing really extraordinary. How they were making, however, money, educated people, was by bribes. It was, when you were a not educated person, if you were just a cleaning lady, let's say, no one would bribe the cleaning lady, really, no one really cared. But when you were a doctor or a surgeon, it was daily. Every single day, people were coming. Can you take care of my father? Just a little bit extra here. And can you take care of my wife? And I'm going to have a child. Here is 1,000. Please, special care for that. Or there was no medicine, of course, right? There was no medicine. So will you provide that medicine? Here is 1,000. Please, take care. Come on, no one is watching. Under the table and envelope. So that's how the system was operating. That's why they had more money, educated people in power, the bureaucrats, the politicians, but not because they were receiving more from the government. It was a pretty much flat basic income, but because of bribes.
Yeah, I see. And the thing being, if they introduce, well, they've already tabled it. The Liberal Party convention proved that, it would be a great idea. So whether they give someone $500 or $2,000 extra a month, pardon the expression, it's basically reliance on the government teat.
Yes.
And yet they forget that the government teat consists of the Canadian, which involves every province, every taxpayer. So I can see the UBI being effective to people that need it, but there's already systems called welfare that look after that.
That's
and
right.
Even those systems are overdone as we speak too. It doesn't matter if it's Calgary or Edmonton or where I live or in Toronto or Montreal. There are people that rely on it. I can understand. There are people that go through dire situations and then have a total lifestyle change, or something happens, everything goes a big 180. Oh my God, they need help. Fine. But then when you become reliant on it and expect it, you all of a sudden put yourself in that situation where you're not going to thrive, or you want to excel, or you want to have the freedom to go buy that new novel and actually sit and read it, or to read that different newspaper to get that point of view. It's like, well, my rent's doing all this. How much I got to play with this month? Oh, okay. Well, I got the UBI coming in, so I don't care. And it becomes that reliance. And I'm not trying to disenfranchise anybody who needs it. I mean, like, needs it. All of a sudden they lost their job, like the Serb and Seba. But even that's been a tax grab and tax scam for some too. They lost $22 billion in that whole Serb and Seba payment because people were taking it that didn't need it. They were still making 75,000 plus a year. Oh, we'll just get a double dip here or a double dip there. 2 for me, 1 for you, 3 for me, none for you. That's that mentality. So
yeah,
and it's interesting how they even want to table that. I would rather see seniors $1,200 a month based on the CPP rather than any other politician or a free handout, as they sort of say, especially up the pension for veterans and definitely up the pension for seniors. So that's just me, sir. What do you think?
Oh, I 100% agree. I have a mom. My mom is sick. She's waiting for a liver for the kidney transplants, and so difficult times. She can't walk far. She can't work. It's a hard situation, and she is over 65. Therefore, she doesn't qualify for the assistance that she had before 65, which was the age for people that have difficulties, and I mean difficulties that you can see with your eyes. And they cut that out more than half. And she is expected to survive on a few $100s a month because she doesn't qualify for anything else. I mean, and then they're giving themselves raise while they're making already $200,000. And when they're in Parliament just for a few years, they have almost $10,000 pension guaranteed. When they are 50, when they reach 50, they have almost $10,000, sometimes even more, depends how many years they spend in Parliament, every single month for doing nothing. And they're still young, they could work, but no. The system is rigged. The system is done in such a way that it's everything for them, very little for the rest of us.
Oh, exactly. They have to cover their trails too. There was a time in the military where officers had the same kind of perks. I'm not saying they're making $10,000 a month, but when you look at the scale of things at one time, they were looked after more than looked after the troops. Especially when you go back to the decade of darkness. I'm saving that for another episode. Some of the men that I served with that were, predominant soldiers and workers those years, they have some great stories to tell about perks and privileges and missing funds and exercises, disappearing. Especially in recent news too, where Harjit Sajjan was put in the spot for allowing or willingly know that there were some PLA soldiers in Canada doing some winter indoc training, and now he turned around to a 180 saying, "Oh, I didn't know." Interesting. So
one thing about the missing money, I'm sure if you're following Alberta's politics, I'm sure you've heard about $1 billion missing from Jason Kenney's coffers. Have you heard about that?
Vaguely, yes, vaguely.
$1 billion. So think about it, because little people like us, we can't even grasp the amounts we're talking about. This is not a million. It's not even 10 millions. It's $1 billion that disappeared. No one knows where. To this day, they have not found it. I'll tell you where the money is. It has been divided by all the MLAs and the chief health officers and other goons, mafia people that are doing this to us. They were paid to do this to us. They were paid to enslave Albertans and turn us into some kind of creatures wearing a piece of cloth that they know. And every doctor, every biologist knows that the piece of cloth is not going to stop a 1,000 times smaller virus than the bacteria. It's just impossible. It goes in and out, and there's nothing you can do about it. But still, they say you got to wear it anyway.
Yeah, and that $1 billion could go to find a way to actually really cure it and get rid of it. But then again, with the 99.9, statistic was
99.7.
99.7% of survival. You and I get it. Okay, we isolate for 2 weeks, then we're good to go. Vitamin D and zinc. Please, ladies and gentlemen, my guest tonight on the Crusty Canuck Thursday Fastball is Pastor Artur Pawlowski. Am I saying it right, sir? Pawlowski? Or was it Pawlowski? Pawlowski, yes. Pastor, Christian, humanitarian, patriot, Polish survivor of communism. Which brings me to my next question, sir. When you grew up in Poland, when did you come to Canada, and what was the culture shock that you felt when you first came to Canada from being in Poland all those years?
We emigrated. We had to escape on a boat from Poland because the government refused to give us visas to leave the country. We escaped on a boat through Turkey, Istanbul, then Athens, Greece, and we spent 5 years in Greece until the Canadian government opened its borders. And I remember in embassy them telling us, we want people like you, we want young, ambitious people, business people to come. Canada is a great country, values freedom. No one will hunt you down because you're different or you believe in something different. There's a total freedom. And we said, fine, let's go. I mean, wow, what a difference from the country we escaped. You can work hard, you can achieve something. If you want to have more, you can work harder and longer hours if you want. That's up to you. And no one will hunt you down because you're Christian. No communism, democracy, amazing. We emigrated here in 1995, and I went to business for a number of years. I was running a construction company, development company, and then a media company. I was making good money. I was achieving what I wanted to achieve. And then I started to work with the homeless people. And what a shock, because I didn't know the level of corruption in this country, because it was hidden. Right now it's more open. Right now we can see a lot more, but at that time everything was very, very hidden.
Mhm.
And I was shocked by mingling with the politicians and seeing what they're doing and how it's done. The level of bribes, for example, an alderman in the city of Calgary takes about 10 to 15 bribes a day. A day. Right?
Really?
Yes. So I mean, it was shock. I know a lot of friends in politics. Actually, they were my friends. Now I don't want to have anything to do with them. When I learned what they're doing and how they're doing, it's shocking. Homelessness. I started to work with homeless people. Homelessness. They designate in the province of Alberta $230 million a year to fight homelessness in our province. So I started to ask questions. Where is the money? Where is the money going? Why there are still homeless people on the streets? Why they're hungry? If there's so many millions of dollars designated to fight this horrible, situation, where is the money? Who benefits from this? And then it turned out it was politicians, CEOs, Master Seed, Salvation Army, and drop-in center. The system of homelessness is run per head, like cattle. More cattle, more money from the government. Less heads, less cattle, less money from the government. And because I do everything without charging taxpayers' money, without taking taxpayers' money, I do this by volunteers. I myself do not receive a salary. We're doing this as volunteers. I became a big threat to those organized crime lords that are running shelters because of the amount of money that is being
Bureaucrats.
designated. So if I, for example, if I am successful in taking people off the streets, that means less people on the streets. That means less money for the shelters. That's how system is being run. That's why they don't like us. That's why they have been slandering me left and right, because they don't want me to be successful. If I'm successful, that means they're out of job, out of business.
Yeah, the bureaucracy has no strength anymore. It's the same conglomerate when it comes to certain dairy farms. A lot of farmers produce some really great milk. I remember as a kid working on a dairy farm, and it was nothing for me to go grab a 2-liter jug, grab some milk out of the cooler after a day's milking, drink away. Now, if you're caught doing that, oh my good, there's hell to pay because someone's not getting paid.
That's right.
Right?
It's all
The
about money.
conglomerates.
We
Yeah.
have this saying in Poland: if you do not know what the whole thing is all about, it's always about money.
Yeah, 9 times out of 10, it would be about money. And now it's about money and people's feelings.
Yeah.
When you question these leaders and these overseers, like I said earlier in the show, they'll deem you as all these names, make you look bad, to throw humiliation at you, and you should hang your head in shame because you dare question their expertise. But I've dealt with numerous people since doing this podcast who have had all this great background in English and great background in economics and business, and they constantly threw the Marxist model at me. And I'm going, what? If you have such an economic background, why are you agreeing with this proletariat BS when it comes to what I have to do with my money or what you have to do with your money? If you're an economics major, you'd be encouraging people to make money.
Yeah.
Business or charitable work. You can make a decent living out of being charitable, but without being, how do you say, like the United Way, where their CEOs are making anywhere from $300,000 to $400,000 a year to do what?
Yeah.
Salvation Army.
It's crazy.
It is. It's I don't know what to say. Other than it enrages me personally because is this what I fought for? Did my brothers and sisters fight for this too? Did my grandparents fight for this in World War II? Justin Mears says, in the age on internet, words and cameras are the best weapons. Yes, I would agree to that. Pastor.
Oh yes, definitely. I have been accused of many things in this fight with the government. You got to remember, they don't play nice. They don't play fair. They don't care about the truth. They will slander you. They will say all kinds of evil about you if that's what suits their narrative. That's why you need to have witnesses. That's why you need to have the camera, because just in case they will come and they will say you've done something that you didn't. It saved me many times. Actually, I had officers in front of the judges, lying, manufacturing documents. For example, just to give you the level of corruption, how far those people will go. There is a guy in the city of Calgary. You can Google him up. His name is Andrew Bissett. Andrew Bissett was a high-ranking bylaw officer that was hunting me down for illegally, according to him, me feeding the homeless people. And I would get tickets after tickets after tickets, and I was accused of things. And then eventually we end up in a court. In the court, he lied, he manufactured a document about an incident that took place. But this evil person forgot that we recorded the incident. So he is lying in his papers, and that's what happened, and this what happened, and I witnessed this, and my partner witnessed this, and the camera was rolling. My camera was rolling. Mm-hmm. And he lied on a stand. He swore to tell the truth, but he didn't. And the judge even said, "You're just a liar." And he didn't believe a word he said because the camera showed what really happened. And you know what happened? You know what the city of Calgary did with the guy? They gave him a better position in the city with a raise. Just after this trial, he was promoted. He's still working for the city of Calgary in a high-ranking position. Andrew Bissett, Google this devil. He got a promotion because he was a good liar in the court.
So to quote my editor, R.D. Johnson from Laughing, very interesting. Yes. Jawohl, we do it this way. Oh, you get a promotion. Yes.
Yeah.
What? So he was caught committing perjury in the court of law, and he got a better job and a few extra bucks a month.
That's right. By the mayor, by the mayor's appointment, right? And I'm always said to our lawyer, I said, why can't we charge them with lying to the court? I mean, if I lied and they would find out, they would be yelling, lock him up, lock him up. What about them, those officers, the police officers lying, the bylaw officers lying, the city employees lying? I mean, there is no justice anymore. They can get away with a murder and it looks like no one cares. And instead of being chastised and deprived from their pension and their salary, they're being promoted. It looks like a good man is hammered big time. Don't you dare do good things. We don't like when people do good things. We want you to do evil things. When you do evil things, we'll promote you.
Wow. And, I was aware of play like that, but at half the time, you only see that garbage in the movies, you would think, right? But then from your experience, you've just told myself and the audience here too, wow.
That's why I'm not afraid to say that publicly, because I have the evidence. I have the evidence. I wish he would challenge me for defamation of character. I wish this liar and cheater would dare to challenge me because of.
Well, you got the ammo to lock him away, right? And to be laughed at.
I have the ammunition for very high-ranking officers, very high-ranking members of MLAs. I have evidence about Drew Farrell. Drew Farrell is an alderman, a councillor in the city of Calgary. She manufactured from her office complaints about me. At that time, they needed complaints, but people were not complaining because we were not doing evil things. We were feeding the homeless, but they desperately needed complaints. So the complaints were coming from her own office. Can you imagine?
I don't see what the problem would be with when you take it upon yourself to organize a few people to make all this food, and not just, you're not just throwing bread and peanut butter on a stand and here. You're providing nourishing meals. From the footage I've seen, you've provided good, wholesome meals, good meats and cheeses and breads and vegetables and drinks, and actually showing that compassion to people. And that's what annoys me too, because people fight so hard to get into politics, to do the good thing, to stand up for people. You hear the old rhetoric, well, I'm here to help people. Oh, I want to do this for my riding, or I want to do this for my district. I want to do this for my ward. I want to do this for my province. I want to do this for my country. And then you find the same administrators, the same bureaucratic BS, stopping people like yourself, stopping other good people from doing things, all because, like you said, the money. They're not making the money. They're not checking their tick in the box to make sure their red tape is looked after. because only they can cut the red tape, not you, not us plebes. Oh, heaven forbid, Melkupa. Like, why?
I was told why. I was told on a number of different meetings why. This is what they said. I'm exposing corruption. They don't like that because there's too much money in the game. But also, I'm showing that there is a problem. Because in our lineups, there are big lineups sometimes, lots of people that are feeding. And the people see the big lineups and people are asking questions. So if there's hundreds of millions of dollars designated to feed those people, to take care of them, why they're hungry, why they are standing in the lineups with this preacher, right, in minus 20, minus 30, in rain, in snow, and they're still there. If there is so much money and so much food, if they are taking care of what they're doing there, you see, it's a corruption, and the lineups show that the whole thing is a sham. It's a lie.
They got to pay their CEO buddies or their backers, right? There's an obligation to help their constituents, i.e. their lobbyists and their believers. Have you had any run-ins with Mayor Nancy?
Oh, a number of times. This guy was hunting me down, and he is responsible for this. I mean, this guy is something else. Look at that.
Wow.
See? And I got plenty more over there, a little bit bigger, documents like this. So I got 28 tickets right now to fight. I call them the COVID tickets for my horrible crime of refusing to quit, refusing to stop feeding the poor. So he sends health inspectors, bylaws, police. He hunts me down, this little devil, here in the city of Calgary. And he himself is a Muslim. So he has a deep, deep hatred towards Christians. And yeah, I tried to reason with the guy. You can't talk to him. You can't reason with him. He is a narcissist, like a leech. Only takes for himself what suits his narration, what works for him. Everybody else are either racist or white supremacists. And I'm not I'm a white guy. And it's funny because I'm not a pure breed. My grandma was from Romania. So I'm a mixture. My father actually is a darker color, but it doesn't matter. I always say to people, Jesus didn't die for the color of your skin. He died for your soul. I welcome everyone. I don't care where you grew up. I don't care where you come from. You welcome the way you are. I don't care if you're white or red or yellow or black or Martian green. You're welcome to come because you're human. We are humans. We're people. And I help people. So he gives always this race card, throwing it, oh, they're racist, and I'm a man of a color, and this, and so he uses that. In last election, he says, if you don't vote for me, then you're racist. That's what he said publicly. So yeah, he plays that game. He sends the officers. He hunts me down. But I'm not going to quit just because corrupted politician wants me to quit. I'm not going to quit.
No, you shouldn't. You shouldn't quit. I'm really impressed with your stance, and I'm sure my audience out there too is really impressed with your stance and your belief and your humane actions. Helping people, the less fortunate, is always a good thing. My guest tonight, ladies and gentlemen, if you're just tuning in to the Thursday night FASTBALL with Crusty Canuck, is Pastor Artur Pawlowski, Polish immigrant, survivor of the Cold War, witness to the atrocities committed by the Soviet regime in Poland those years. Comes to Canada, find prosperity, to build a good life, shows a bit of humanity, comes out and gets nailed for it by our politicians. Doesn't matter if it's municipal, provincial, or federal. If you feel like donating, ladies and gentlemen, please donate. Look at the screen at the bottom. Do you have a contact or a website, sir, I can put on here into the headers for you if you like?
Yeah, if people want to help, like I said, we feed thousands of people. I have been arrested dozens of times, over 100 court cases, some court cases as long as 3 weeks. So imagine if you murder someone, you probably will have 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, a trial. I sat in the trials, for me illegally, according to them, illegally feeding the homeless 3 weeks every day in the court, being hammered by the crown prosecutors, lawyers, sometimes 7 of them, attorney general, minister of justice, hammer, just because I dared to defy their orders to shut down the soup kitchen. So if you want to help, of course, that would be awesome. Like I said, I do not receive a salary. Everything we do is a volunteer work. But of course, the cost, we have a storehouse, we got trucks, we got food, we got refrigerators, freezers, of course, when we cook, prepare. You can do that emailing e-transfer if you want, art@streetchurch.ca, art@streetchurch.ca. You can also visit the website www.streetchurch.ca, and there's a donate button over there as well. If that's what would you like to do and chip in and help to feed the most vulnerable people on the streets of Calgary, that would be awesome. So we are on the streets 4 times a week, feeding the poor. You're welcome to come and join if you want to flip the burgers. If you heard about Chris Sky, have you heard about Chris Sky?
Yes, I've seen his work. I'd like to reach out to him too, possibly have him a guest on the Fastball as well.
Sure,
I've
I can talk to him because I know him well. He's going to be flipping burgers this Friday for the homeless people, 5:30 p.m. this Friday in front of City Hall. If you're in Calgary area, you're welcome to come. I'll introduce you to Chris Sky. He's going to be feeding people with us right this Friday. So tomorrow, 5:30 p.m. if you got time. And he's going to be also speaking at our Freedom Rally, 1 p.m. At Princess Island Park, 1 p.m. in the city of Calgary as well. So you can come and meet him. That's what we do. We love freedom because once we didn't have freedom. And we love people. We may, like I say, always we may disagree with some people, but we will feed anyone that is willing to stand up in a lineup and is of a need of a food. You're welcome to come, and if you have a need, let me know. We'll try to help. We look for works for people. We have halfway housing as well for people, and we are doing our best to help as many as we can.
That's fantastic, sir. That's always good to know. That's brilliant. I usually end my show with saying humanity and merit wins the day, meaning do what you can to help people and don't be afraid to earn something. Respect, notoriety in your job, respect from loved ones, from total strangers too. I just have to say, I am really impressed with your work and the way you treat this situation. It's a wonder, without trying to sound bad, it's a wonder you haven't gone crazy yet with all the political red tape they have thrown at you.
This is how I keep my sanity. Since this craziness started, I have never stopped meeting with people. I have in my house people every single day. People come just to chat, just to talk, just to have a coffee. I've never stopped meeting with my family, regardless of the restrictions and lockdowns. And I don't care. I don't care what they're going to do to me. My parents, I respect them. I love them. I honor them. And I will always, no matter what the government tells me to do, I'll always visit them and I'll always be there for them. The same with my family, my sons, my daughter, my wife, my friends. We are family. My friends are family. I do not abandon family just because the government tells me so. So I meet with people, and when you meet with people, you have hope, you laugh, you joke, you just have an amazing time. That's what keeps me out of depression. I also do this for God. So I don't expect thank you from people. I don't expect money from people. I know that I'm doing that is pleasing to my God, is something good. And if you're normal, you see what I do and you have to say it. It's good. Feeding the poor and giving them hope is a good thing to do. So that's what keeps me going. I just focus on the positive, on the good. I don't focus on the negative. And there is thousands of people, I'm sure, they're talking evil about me, how terrible I am because I disagree with homosexuality, or I disagree with abortion, or whatever it is. It doesn't matter. You live your life according to your desire. I live my life according to my desire. But we can still go for a coffee. We can still have a good chat. We can still be humans. I think we've lost that in the past year. In a number of years, we've lost humanity.
I
To
can see
agree to
that. Yeah.
disagree, right? To agree to disagree, to
Mhm.
just be humans and say, hey, it's okay. Like I always say to people, you know what? I'm not looking for a wife. I already have one. So we don't have to agree on everything, and we can
Yeah.
still have good time, a good debate.
Mhm.
Just enlarge your territory a little bit, your mindset. Maybe you will learn something. Maybe I will learn something.
Well, we're
At
both.
least,
Yeah.
in the end, we'll have a good coffee.
Oh, that's the thing too. Do you drink, sir?
I drink coffee. I don't drink alcohol.
No alcohol. Oh,
I
okay.
I
Yeah.
used to drink. I was a drunkard. In
Oh,
1999,
okay.
I
Okay.
walked away from alcohol completely, and that's 22 years. I'm completely clean.
Well done. Well done. Yeah, I seldomly touch it myself anymore. Um, Prior to my diagnosis, that's all I ever did was drink every weekend, and it added weight gain and second thought, self doubt. Mind you, the pills they prescribed me for my antidepressant that didn't help either too. So I kind of blew up. But when I drink, it's usually New Year's. I had a couple of glasses of wine. This past Easter, we hosted some friends. We had some hot dogs, had some light beer. That's about it. So I don't really touch it as much. My biggest, coffee and tobacco. But I'm ex-infantry, so that's the lifeblood of any ex-soldier per se. Like I say, my guest tonight is Dr. Artur Pasteur, or not doctor, pastor. I can't speak English right now. Pastor Artur Pawlowski, humanitarian, all around good guy, patriot, Polish immigrant that survived the Soviet onslaught during those communist years during the Cold War. We've discussed the whole political issue, the transition, and what's been going on in Canada as we see it today, the administrative BS and the political BS that's gone into trying to break this man and trying to break him down, as well as the same political dogma that's trying to break all of us down. My viewers and listeners out there, please consider, look at this screen. You can find Art at streetchurch.ca or www.streetchurch.ca for any information or donations to this cause. Like I said, he will be, you said tomorrow night, sir, you will be hosting a feeding there at 5:30 in Calgary.
In front of Calgary City Hall.
Calgary City Hall.
Saturday, 1 p.m., it's a Walk for Freedom rally that we have every 2 weeks. Sunday, 1 p.m. in front of City Hall. Again, we're going to be having a barbecue for the homeless.
Outstanding, outstanding. If my finances permit, I may be able to join some of those programs someday for you. I'm about 4 hours away from you, sir. I'm on the eastern side of the province, so take some time and effort to get down there. Like I say, I try to watch my pennies. But I need my viewers, such as yourselves out there. If you feel like donating, please donate to CrustyCanuck.ca. Anything will do. I'm not going to demand cash. I'm not doing this. I do this for the sake of getting the words out there, getting wisdom, promoting freedom, liberty, peace, security, all that good stuff. If you feel like donating, please donate. Check out my shop too at customizedgirl.com. T-shirts, swimsuits, hats. I got buttons. I got mugs. I got lots of good Crusty Canuck swagger for your choosing. So summertime is coming, so get yourself some nice Crusty Canuck swagger today. I say again, my guest is Pastor Artur Pawlowski, all-around humanitarian, great guy. And please bring your questions directly. Keep them clean, ladies and gentlemen. Realistic. We're all fighting this together in the name of freedom, security, and the love of our democracy and country. Anything else to add there, Pastor?
I just wanted to thank you for your service. I understand how difficult it is to serve. I understand that you sometimes will not get the thank yous, just like me. So I want to thank you right here publicly. Thank you for your service. Thank you for doing your duty. I consider myself a Christian soldier as well. I obey my God and I do what he tells me to do. And when he tells me to go and feed the poor, if it's minus 30, minus 40, that's fine. That's what soldiers do. They obey and they go and they do. They're not about talking, they're about doing. So I want to thank you for that. And if I may, I'm sure there are people over there listening, and some may be depressed and some may be suicidal. Some may say, is this ever going to end? We've lost hope. I want to tell you that God wants to give you hope. That's what changed my life. I was a selfish, arrogant drunkard, making $5,000 a day, and I walked away from all of that. I've lost millions of dollars. I've lost my houses. I've lost my properties to help lives, to save lives in the name of Jesus Christ, because he gives hope. And I'm telling you, I was never happier, even though I'm facing giants of the land, I'm facing difficulties and courts and the police, but I was never happier than now, because you can have everything else. You can have sport cars, you can have money, palaces, but if you don't have peace, if you don't have joy, if you don't have friends, if you're alone, you have absolutely nothing, even if you're living in a palace. I'm happy. I have tons of friends, good friends. We laugh, we go places, we meet for dinners, we do barbecues, and I have a wonderful family, 3 children, and I have my God, and that's what keeps me going. That's what gives me hope. So if you're looking for hope, I'm telling you, if you want to ask me questions, if you want to contact me, send me an email, art@streetchurch.ca. I'll gladly pray with you. I'll gladly talk to you, and hopefully I'll be able to give you at least a little bit of that hope and joy that I have.
Well said, Pastor. And I'm sure my audience out there and myself feel enlightened to possibly take you up on that as well. Like I said, my guest tonight is Pastor Artur Pawlowski, humanitarian, preacher, patriot, I guess you can say. Love of Canada, love of humanity at its finest. You can find art at streetchurch.ca or at www.streetchurch.ca for any information on how to donate to his cause. Like I said, he'll be serving up some food for the homeless and the needy tomorrow night in Calgary, as well as being part of the Freedom March at 1 o'clock in Calgary. So stay tuned for that. You might see it some independent media too. I know Rebel has recently just been censored by the powers that be, but nonetheless, if you're out there, get your cell phones going, get your camcorders going, record everything you can. Any more questions there, sir, before we sign off, or are we good to go?
I think we're good to go. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Be blessed. And I hope one day you will quit smoking.
Well,
I had
that
to
is a
throw that
definite
in.
goal.
I had to throw that in. Otherwise, I would not be a pastor. I
Not a
love
problem.
people, and I would like you to see you living 100 years or more with health, in health, right?
Well, we'll do. I know my wife and I, we were contemplating the whole quit the habit. So that's for sure. And we'll save us a few more bucks in the later on. But like I said, my guest tonight has been Pastor Artur Pawlowski, ladies and gentlemen. Well-educated individual, survivor of communism, totalitarianism, humanitarian, preacher, father, patriot, taxpayer, and just all-around good guy. So please check out his work at the information at the screen. There's more information in the description once we sign off. So I have been Crusty Canuck on this beautiful Thursday of the 15th of April, 2021. My guest has been Pastor Pawlowski. Look after your friends and loved ones and do what you can to help each other out in these trying times. There is light at the end of the tunnel, ladies and gentlemen, whether it's through the gospel of God, gospel of Muhammad, gospel of Moses, or in your internal soul. Like I always say, humanity merit wins the day. Take care. Pay attention to this page for updates in my next podcast. And I'll see some of you all on Sunday, on the Sunday Fastball with Adam Danny Mose. Take care, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you all again for coming out. Bye for now.
God bless you.